Just speaking about the flight, and there have been issues in regards to the staff and the union of the, the Aviation Workers Union, saying that they're not permitted, they're contractually, legally, not supposed to go beyond a certain length. What's your comment on that?
First of all, they have withdrawn their supposed advice to their members to boycott the flight. So they've withdrawn that. I think it's just the union using their muscle to say, okay, let's see what we can get, because the flight's so important to us. But I think from my point of view, I think it was a strategic mistake on their side, because we are in negotiation of a new collective bargaining, this new CBA, which is always a tense, there's lots of things in the CBA. It's a very long, detailed document that you're negotiating many things, not just. And one of the things that in the new CBA is the additional allowances that you get paid and additional flight times that you have to negotiate, because the flight is 14 hours long. And for the flight crew, it's not 14 hours. The flight crew arrive at the plane an hour and a half beforehand, and they don't get off the plane for an hour after the passengers leave. So sometimes you could be there 17 hours on the plane. It was negotiation of those allowances that we had not finalized. We will finalize it. It'll be sorted out. I think the union just tried to use their muscle a little bit inappropriately, in my opinion, because they know how important this flight is to Kenya Airways. They know that if and it's a very big if, and they had been successful, it'd been hugely damaging to Kenya Airways, maybe fatally damaging to Kenya Airways, because we're flying to America. You're flying where passengers have a huge amount of choice, where passengers are critical and in their choice of who they're going to fly. So if we suddenly had to cancel a flight for some silly union action, it would have been devastating to Kenya Airways. In my point of view, from my viewpoint, I think that was sabotage. But to announce on a Monday for a flight that's leaving on a Sunday that we are now going to boycott the flight when the CBA negotiations have been going on for a long time, to me is irresponsible.
We've had these conversations on CBA and the threats of strike, some of them which materialized to some extent. When do we foresee this this kind of conversation coming to a close?
I think you need to have a different kind of relationship between management and the unions. Now, not the people, the unions, okay? I differentiate from management and the people working for KQ. The unions, you have to have a different relationship, and I think we're getting there. We had this issue with CALPA, with the pilots union. We had a lot of discussions, very good discussions, and we resolved those issues. It's not unusual in our industry, and it's not just Kenya Airways, but you can look around the world at any airline that has got a union. There's always going to be a little bit of tension before you finally sign the CBA. We can't grant everybody to salary increases and everything they want, and they know that. In fact, if you look at our salary structure, and this is one argument that we have both on the flying crew, the pilots, and on the rest of the crew, we pay extremely well. In fact, our pilots are paid extremely well. So, but we don't have a lot of room to say, okay, let's increase it even more.
You've mentioned other airlines like Ethiopian Airlines. We've seen a number of times people have tried to draw parallels. What's your comment on that?
Look, we have to compare because they're our fiercest competitor. I mean, that if you want to fly to London, you have a choice. You have a choice, of enormous choice. And one of the choices that you have is Ethiopian, which is a very strong, well-run airline, and they can offer a very competitive price compared to us because our costs are much higher. We have, as I said, we have unions. We have taxes on our fuel. They have no taxes on their fuel. They don't have any unions. They are state-owned and state-subsidized. It's naturally that we compare ourselves with them, and we are at a significant disadvantage to them. In order for us to compete fairly and to make sure that we put Kenya Airways on the map and improve and grow Kenya Airways, we need to be able to compete fairly against them. We're not saying that we need to be exactly like them, but we need to be able to have a better playing field. I think we need to have another look at the tax structure. We need to look at this deal that we're now making between Kenya Airways and Jomo Kenyatta Airport. That deal will help us a lot because all these other airlines run and manage their airports as well. So if we can have that would give us a tremendous advantage. And I think we just need to have a much more efficient, efficient staff. I don't think we'll ever have the same cost structure. It's impossible. But if we can be more productive, if we have a better service. I mean, our service on Kenya Airways is second to none. If we can continue that and improve that, I think we can compete fairly.
When are we going to see more sale of assets?
No. I don't think we have anything left to sell, to be quite honest with you. No, I don't see any sale of assets. I think what we're trying to do right now is, and I don't want to say too much, is that we're re-looking at our lease payments again. So, how we have some payments that we can structure, maybe restructure some of our aircraft leases, restructure that. There's a possibility of how we pay for the fuel, how we pay for our fuel, the tax on our fuel and various other taxes that we pay. There's quite a few things that we are offering to improve our cash flow. It's no crisis.
And one phenomenon is that there have been complaints a number of times about KQ's service provision, be it sometimes you find people complain of delayed flights. And you've mentioned that, you've said that KQ is one of the best services across the region. But at times you find there are reports that are kind of contrary to this.
Okay, I think this is taken completely out of context, because Kenya Airways, and whenever a plane is delayed, somebody always makes a comment in social media, to you, on the newspapers, a plane is delayed. This is a fact of life. You go to any airline with our size of fleet, there are always delays. There are always unforeseen events. What we don't do always well is, when we do have a delay, how do we manage the delay? And how do we communicate the delay? And we need to do better at that. For sure, we need to do better at that.